My name is Barbara Thurman. I'm 31 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've only ever truly splurged on one thing in my life: my 2019 Corvette Stingray. Midnight blue, spotless, low mileage, something I saved for over 5 years to finally afford. That car wasn't just a car. It was the proof that I could build something on my own. It was the one thing I never compromised on, never loaned out, never risked. Not for anyone. Not even for the man I thought I was building a future with. His name is Adrian, 29, charming, affectionate in all the ways that matter in the beginning. We met at a friend's rooftop barbecue 8 months ago. Warm lights, jazz music, and the kind of easy conversation that makes you believe in coincidences. 4 months later, he moved into my condo. I didn't think twice. He paid me $600 toward utilities. I covered the mortgage. Fair, simple adult. Or so I thought. Looking back, I see the red flags now. The impulsive streak. The sense of entitlement. The way he admired my Corvette just a little too much. But on that Thursday afternoon, I wasn't thinking about red flags. I was in the middle of a presentation at work, standing in front of a conference room of clients trying to maintain composure as my phone buzzed again and again in my blazer pocket. I ignored it. I finished the pitch. I walked out of the room at 2:47 p.m. 6 messages, all from Adrian, all within 12 minutes. 2:36 p.m. Babe, I'm taking the vet to meet Jenna for lunch. Hope that's okay. My stomach dropped. He had never not once asked to drive my Corvette. He had his own car, a perfectly functional 2016 Honda Accord. There was no reason to take mine. None. 2:39 p.m. This car is insane, Barbara. Oh my God. 2:40 p.m. Why don't you let me drive this more often, Lowell? My heart started pounding. Hard. I felt the edges of the world press in. 2:43 p.m. Babe, call me. 2:45 p.m. Call me now. 2:48 p.m. I wrecked the Corvette. Cops are here. Tell them it was stolen. Please. My license is suspended. I can't get in trouble. Please, babe. My fingers went numb. My breath caught in my throat. I read that last message 3 times. Suspended license since when? I stepped into an empty hallway, hit call. Adrian answered before the first ring finished. Barbara, thank God. Listen. Okay, there was this truck, and I swerved and I hit a pole, but it's not that bad. The officer is asking for my license, but I can't. Adrian, my voice cracked. Your license is suspended. Yes, but that's not look. I need you to tell them someone stole the car. If they find out I was driving with a suspended license, I'm going to jail. Please, I'm begging you. Where are you? The intersection near the mall by Starbucks. Hurry. Please tell them it was stolen. He hung up. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My hands shook as I grabbed my keys, muttered something to my boss about an emergency, and ran to my truck. The drive took 15 minutes. 15 minutes of questions I wasn't ready to answer. Why did he take my car? Why lie about his license? Why choose me to drag into this? And the one question that ached more than I wanted to admit: how long has he been hiding things from me? Then I saw it. My Corvette, my beautiful, perfect Corvette. The front end was crushed around a steel pole. The hood folded like paper. Fluids dripping. The midnight blue paint scraped open like a wound. My hands tightened around the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. 2 cop cars, a crowd forming, and Adrian standing there in a nice outfit, hairstyled, trying to look innocent, while mascara-streaked panic painted his face. When the officer approached me, something inside me detached. A quiet, cold part of me rose up, the part that had worked 3 jobs to save for that car. You the owner of the Corvette? The officer asked. Yes, I said, I am. And this man, the officer gestured toward Adrian, my boyfriend. He says he had permission to drive it. I looked at Adrian. His eyes widened, begging silently. I turned back to the officer. He did not. Adrian's face drained of color. He took the car without my knowledge or permission, I continued. And I have proof. I pulled out my phone, opened my home security camera, showed the footage time-stamped 2:31 p.m. of Adrian going through my nightstand, taking the Corvette keys, and leaving. Then I showed the officer the texts, including the one begging me to lie to police. The officer's expression changed instantly. Ma'am, he said to Adrian, please step over here. No, Barbara, what are you doing? The officer's partner stepped in. Sir, your license is suspended. You are under arrest for unauthorized use of a motor vehicle and attempting to flee the scene. Flee what? Adrian shrieked. The car wouldn't start. Barbara, stop them. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. I stood there, numb, cold, empty. He had screamed at me when I wouldn't lie. He tried to make me complicit in a felony. He destroyed the one thing I worked half my life to achieve. I felt nothing. They cuffed him. He screamed my name as they put him into the back of the patrol car. His voice cracked. His eyes were wild. It didn't move me. By the time I got home around 7 p.m., the silence of my apartment felt foreign. Adrian's clothes were in my closet, his toiletries in my bathroom, his shoes by my door. I grabbed trash bags. Every last piece of him went in. And as I tied the first bag shut, a thought whispered through my head. If he could take my car, what else was he capable of taking? The morning after Adrian was arrested, I woke to the vibration of my phone on the nightstand. For a split second, I thought it might be him calling from jail, begging again, screaming again, lying again. But the caller ID made my stomach harden. Diane Fletcher, his mother. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. Her voice came through like a siren. How dare you leave my son in jail overnight? What kind of woman are you, Barbara? I held the phone away from my ear. Diane, your son stole my car. He made a mistake. He was scared. Any loving girlfriend would help him. He drove with a suspended license, I replied. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. You're ruining his life. No, I said quietly. He ruined mine. Or at least he tried. I hung up, blocked her. For a moment, I stood in the middle of my kitchen in complete silence, feeling something unfamiliar rise in my chest, a mix of sorrow, fury, and the dawning realization that this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Adrian made bail at 10 a.m. I didn't know that yet, only learned later that Diane had posted $5,000 to get him out. I was at my desk halfway through an email when someone began pounding on my condo door like they were trying to break it down. Barbara. Open the door. We need to talk. I didn't move. Barbara, I know you're inside. I spoke through the door, voice steady. Your things are in bags. I'll leave them outside. You're not coming in. You can't just kick me out. I live here. You're not on the lease. You're not on the mortgage. You were never a legal tenant. This is illegal. No, actually, I said. I checked with a lawyer this morning. That silence, tight stun, told me I'd finally said something he didn't know how to manipulate. But it didn't last long. Adrian's voice softened into a pathetic tremble. Baby, please, I'm scared. I made a bad choice. I'll pay for the car. With what I asked. Your part-time income. You barely make $1,000 a month. The damages alone are over $40,000. Silence again. Your stuff will be outside in 1 hour. He tried another angle, tears this time, guilt, desperation. Barbara, where am I supposed to go? I closed my eyes for a second, just one, because hearing his voice still hurt. You should have thought about that before stealing my car and trying to get me to commit a felony. His tone flipped instantly. You're being cruel. You're heartless after everything I've done for you. We've been together 8 months, I said, and you destroyed the thing I worked years for. What exactly do you think you've done for me? No answer. He left. Came back an hour later with his sister Kennedy, who glared at me like I'd personally set fire to her childhood home. Adrian grabbed his stuff while I recorded the whole thing on my phone just in case. They left without another word. But I knew Adrian wasn't done. He never admitted fault, never accepted consequences. In his mind, everything always happened to him, never because of him. 3 days later, the insurance adjuster called. Ms. Thurman, we've completed the assessment on your Corvette. I already knew what she would say. The vehicle is a total loss. We can offer $47,200 after deductible. My throat tightened, but I forced calm into my voice. And who's liable for the wreck? The adjuster sighed. Well, since Adrian wasn't authorized to drive the vehicle and his license was suspended, the claim will be pursued against him personally. We'll send the civil action paperwork this afternoon. I swallowed harshly. Thank you. She hesitated. Ms. Thurman, this is going to get very messy. I almost laughed. It already has. The next morning, the building management called. Ms. Thurman, we received an anonymous complaint that you illegally evicted a resident from your unit. I closed my eyes. Adrian, let me explain, I said, and I did. I forwarded the police report, the security footage screenshots, and the texts. 1 hour later, the office emailed back. Thank you for the clarification. The complaint has been dismissed. Strike one for Adrian. The day after that, I received an Instagram message request from an unfamiliar account. I opened it. It was 3 paragraphs of insults from Diane, calling me a narcissist and abuser, and claiming I manipulated her sweet boy into driving the Corvette so I could frame him. I stared at the message, then slowly took a screenshot, saved it, and blocked her. Strike 2. On Thursday, things escalated. An email hit my company inbox from an anonymous sender. Subject: concern about employee behavior. Message: I fear Barbara Thurman may be a danger to herself and others. She has exhibited violent tendencies toward her partner and recently caused him to be arrested. My HR director called me in. I brought the police report, the security footage, and the texts again. After 10 minutes, my boss sighed. Barbara, someone is trying to sabotage your job. We're dismissing the complaint. If anything else happens, come straight to me. As I walked out of the HR office, something inside me hardened like cooling steel. Adrian wanted to destroy me because I wouldn't lie for him. He wanted to punish me for refusing to be his shield against consequences. And for the first time since the crash, I felt something sharper than heartbreak. Rage. Then, just as I was settling into the idea that things couldn't escalate further, a white envelope appeared in my mailbox. Notice of court hearing. Defendant Adrian Fletcher. My breath slowed. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something much bigger, and far uglier. The courthouse parking lot smelled like wet asphalt and tension. I arrived early, maybe too early, because the idea of walking in at the same time as Adrian made my stomach twist. I sat in my car for a moment, breathing through the last remnants of panic. This wasn't just another errand. This was the day the truth finally went on record. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, and the hallway benches were filled with people trying to make themselves look smaller than their circumstances. I found an empty seat and waited until I felt a shift in the air. I looked up. There he was, Adrian, dressed in a too-tight suit jacket, hair styled like he was auditioning for sympathy, standing beside his mother Diane and a young public defender who couldn't have been more than 24. Diane shot me a look like I had stabbed her only son in broad daylight. Adrian saw me and instantly started crying, loud, messy, theatrical. Barbara, he whispered, voice trembling. Please, can we talk before this starts? I didn't move. I didn't even blink. The public defender placed a hand on Adrian's arm. Mr. Fletcher, remember no contact. He glared at her, then at me, his tears drying into brittle rage. We were called into the courtroom at 9:12 a.m. The judge, an exhausted-looking woman in her late 50s, sat behind the bench with the kind of expression that said she had absolutely no patience left for anyone's nonsense. Perfect, I thought. The clerk read the charges. Driving with a suspended license, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, attempting to flee the scene. When asked for a plea, Adrian's voice cracked. Not guilty, Your Honor. Diane nodded proudly from the audience seating, as though her son had just solved world hunger. The prosecutor stood adjusting a stack of printed evidence. Your Honor, the state has substantial documentation refuting the defendant's claim. We have the victim, Ms. Barbara Thurman, here today. My heart hammered in my chest as the judge gestured to me. Ms. Thurman, approach. I walked to the witness stand and raised my right hand for the oath. My palms were sweating, but my voice didn't shake. The prosecutor began gently. Ms. Thurman, did you give Mr. Fletcher permission to drive your vehicle on the date in question? No, I said clearly, I did not. And do you have evidence to support your claim? Yes. He had me describe the home security footage, Adrian slipping into my bedroom, rifling through my nightstand, and leaving with my keys. Then the text him taking the car, bragging about it, panicking, and begging me to lie to police. Every message was displayed on monitors in the courtroom. The judge leaned forward as she read the message. Tell them it was stolen, please. My license is suspended. Her eyebrow lifted, slowly. Mr. Fletcher, the judge said, did you ask Ms. Thurman for permission before taking her vehicle? Adrian swallowed so hard his throat clicked. I thought she wouldn't mind, before the judge repeated sharply. Not hypothetically, she probably wouldn't mind. Did you or did you not ask? Adrian's mouth opened, then closed. He looked at me silently, pleading. I stared back, expression empty. He finally whispered, no, Your Honor. And your license was suspended at the time? Yes, but... No buts, the judge snapped. Driving with a suspended license is not a misunderstanding. It is a deliberate violation. Diane sprang to her feet. Your Honor, my son is a good man. Sit down, the judge barked without looking at her. Diane sat. Hard. The prosecutor continued describing witness statements from the crash scene, how Adrian tried to restart the Corvette to drive away. The courtroom murmured, every whispered breath a confirmation. Then Adrian's public defender stood and attempted to salvage what little credibility he had left. Your Honor, my client believed he had implied permission based on the nature of their relationship. The judge held up a hand. Are you seriously suggesting that dating someone grants you automatic access to their property? The young attorney's face burned red. And no, Your Honor, I simply meant that. That argument, the judge said, is both legally and logically bankrupt. I nearly choked back a laugh. After 30 minutes of testimony and evidence, the judge leaned back in her chair with the heavy sigh of someone reconsidering her career choices. "Mr. Fletcher," she said, voice low but firm, "your actions were reckless, deceitful, and profoundly irresponsible. You stole a car, caused significant property damage, attempted to flee the scene, and then attempted to coerce Ms. Thurman into committing insurance fraud." Adrian wiped his face aggressively, smearing his attempt at composure. "For these reasons, I am sentencing you to the following: 18 months probation, 200 hours community service, $500 in fines and court costs, mandatory enrollment in a safe driving course, no contact with Ms. Thurman, no calls, texts, visits, or indirect messages through others." The judge paused. "Any violation of this order will result in the reinstatement of a 90-day jail sentence. Do you understand?" He whimpered, "Yes, Your Honor." Court adjourned. Outside, as I walked toward the parking lot, I heard hurried footsteps and then a scream. "You ruined him!" Diane, storming toward me with the fury of a woman who had never allowed her son to experience consequences. "He could have died in that crash, and all you care about is your stupid car." I turned slowly. "He stole my car, lied, tried to get me to commit a felony. What did you expect me to do?" She jabbed a finger at me. "You should have protected him. A real girlfriend would have." A bailiff stepped between us. "Ma'am, you need to calm down or leave." Diane spat something unintelligible and stormed off. Adrian stayed behind, staring at me from across the lot, eyes hollow, shoulders slumped. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him. For the first time, I felt nothing for him. Not anger, not sadness, not even relief. Just nothing. 2 hours later, I sat in a different courtroom for the civil restitution hearing. My insurance company's attorney laid out the numbers. $53, $847 in damages, vehicle value, towing, legal fees, processing, everything. Adrian's attorney tried to argue hardship, that he had no ability to pay. The insurance lawyer didn't blink. Ability to pay does not erase liability. The judge ordered a payment plan of $500 per month for the next 9 years. Adrian broke. He put his face in his hands and sobbed real broken sobs this time. Not for me, not for what he had done. Only for himself. I walked out of the courthouse into the sunlight feeling not triumphant, not victorious. Just done. But Adrian wasn't done. Not yet. And I was about to learn just how far a desperate man would go when his world collapses around him. If I thought the court rulings would finally push Adrian toward accountability, I was painfully wrong. Some people hit rock bottom and climb out. Others start digging. For the first week after the hearings, things were quiet, unsettlingly quiet. No calls, no messages, no new attempts from Diane. Even his Instagram went dark. That silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like a breath being held. On the 8th day, it snapped. I woke to a barrage of notifications, dozens of screenshots from acquaintances, coworkers, even my cousin, all forwarding the same thing. A video. Adrian had recorded a long, tearful confession, except none of it was true. In the clip, he sat in a dimly lit bedroom, head in his hands, voice trembling with carefully crafted pain. "I didn't want to do this," he whispered dramatically, "but Barbara left me no choice. She's been emotionally abusive for months, controlling, manipulative. She forced me to take the Corvette to test me. She wanted me to fail." I stared at my phone in disbelief. He looked straight into the camera and said, "I'm scared of her." The comments were exploding. "OMG, she sounds toxic. Run, some women are crazy. Justice for Adrian." I should have expected it. Whenever men like Adrian are cornered, they reinvent themselves as victims. My lawyer's voice echoed in my head. "Document everything." So I downloaded the video, screenshotted the comments, archived the posts. Then I sent everything to my lawyer. 30 minutes later, she replied, "This violates his no-contact order. His probation officer needs to see this immediately." I sent the evidence in. By noon, Adrian's probation officer filed a formal violation report. By late afternoon, Adrian was in handcuffs again. Not for the wreck, not for the lies, not for stealing my car, but for trying to destroy me again. The judge wasn't amused. "Mr. Fletcher," she said, "I told you any indirect harassment counts as contact. Posting defamatory content about Ms. Thurman is a violation of probation. You were warned." His public defender tried a weak argument about artistic expression and emotional processing. The judge shut that down instantly. 30 days in county jail, she ruled. The bailiff took him before the sentence even fully left her mouth. Diane screamed at the judge. Diane screamed at the bailiff. Diane screamed at me. "No wonder he's broken. You did this, all of it. The bailiff threatened to remove her. She left only so she wouldn't be arrested too. For a few days I actually felt lighter. Adrian was behind bars. The smear post stopped. The apartment was peaceful again. But the Fletcher family wasn't done. 3 days into Adrian's sentence, I received a call from the front desk of my building. Ms. Thurman, a woman named Diane is here to see you. My entire body tensed. I'm not available, I said quickly. She says it's about her son's medical bills. I almost laughed. Tell her I'm not seeing her. But something nudged me, a strange curiosity. I went downstairs but stayed behind the security door. Diane was waiting, clutching a folder of papers like she was holding evidence of some grand injustice. Barbara, she began already. Emotional, these are Adrian's medical bills from the crash. He suffered whiplash, over $4,000. Since you own the car he stole and crashed, we believe you should take responsibility. I blinked at her. You want me to pay his medical bills? It's the right thing to do, she spat. If you hadn't overreacted, he wouldn't be so stressed or hurt. A laugh burst out of me before I could stop it. She reared back like I'd slapped her. You're insane, I said calmly. And no, don't contact me again. I turned and walked away. She screamed after me about karma until security escorted her out. But Diane wasn't even the biggest surprise of the week. Adrian was, because apparently jail gave him ideas. 10 days into his sentence, I received a thick envelope from the courthouse. Inside, a small claims lawsuit filed by Adrian Fletcher against me for $5,000. His claim that I had illegally evicted him and caused emotional distress. My lawyer nearly choked laughing when she saw it. During the hearing, Adrian appeared in jail-issued clothing hands, cuffed, looking every bit the tragic hero he imagined himself to be. His argument lasted 45 seconds. He lived with her. She kicked him out without notice. My lawyer stepped forward. Your Honor, Mr. Fletcher was never a legal tenant. No lease, no rental agreement. He paid a portion of utilities voluntarily. He was staying as a guest. He committed multiple crimes with her property. Ms. Thurman had no legal obligation to issue notice. Judge glanced at the paperwork, nodded, and said, Case dismissed. Mr. Fletcher, you are ordered to pay court costs. Adrian stared at me like I'd stabbed him. Not with love, not with longing, with hate. Pure, unfiltered hate. And yet, I felt nothing but relief. After the hearing, life shifted. Not instantly, not cleanly, but slowly. I bought a used 2020 Camaro SS with my insurance payout. Not a Corvette, but it felt like a step forward. I replaced my couch, repainted the bedroom, removed every last object Adrian had touched. And then the strangest thing happened. I breathed, deeply, fully, like my lungs had been half full for months without me knowing. But peace is delicate, and healing isn't a straight line. Sometimes I'd stand in the garage staring at the empty spot where my Corvette used to sit and feel a strange mix of grief and gratitude. The car was gone, but so was Adrian. And for the first time, I understood something simple. Losing the Corvette hurt, but losing Adrian saved me. It's been 89 days since the crash that changed everything. My routines, my home, my sense of safety, my faith in the man I thought I loved. And now at the end of it all, I can finally see the whole picture with clarity instead of pain. Adrian didn't just wreck my Corvette. He wrecked every illusion I had about him. The process of cleaning up after him, emotionally, legally, financially, unfolded slowly like peeling away layers of rot I didn't know were there. And now that the dust has settled, this is where everyone stands. Adrian Fletcher, a criminal record, 18 months of probation, a 30-day jail sentence served after his probation violation, a civil judgment of $53,847 with a payment plan of $500 a month for 9 years, jobless after losing his second part-time position, still living with his mother Diane, still complaining about how the world is unfair, still refusing to take responsibility for anything. His license remains suspended. He can't get it reinstated until he pays fines he can barely afford. Mutual acquaintances tell me he's angry all the time now, bitter, depleted, obsessed with painting himself as the victim of a treacherous girlfriend. But they also tell me something else. His life collapsed because he never believed consequences applied to him. He still doesn't. Diane Fletcher, the mother-in-law I never officially had. Her reputation in her church group took a hit after she tried to storm my building demanding I pay Adrian's medical bills. Apparently someone recorded her meltdown, and it made the rounds among her social circles. She still blames me for everything, but now instead of screaming at my door, she screams to anyone who will listen. When she sees me around town, her face tightens with controlled disgust, as if I'm a walking cautionary tale sent to personally test her faith. I ignore her, effortlessly. Me, Barbara Thurman. I kept my job. I kept my condo. I kept my sanity. But what I gained was far more important. I bought a 2020 Camaro SS with the insurance payout. It's not a Corvette, but when I first sat behind the wheel, I felt something warm and steady growing inside me, like a reminder that I could rebuild anything I lost piece by piece. My home looks different now, cleaner, brighter, lighter. I started taking long drives again, letting the wind drown out the lingering echoes of Adrian's voice. With every mile, I felt pieces of myself returning parts I didn't notice he was slowly eroding. I've been going to therapy, not because I'm broken, but because I wanted to understand how someone like Adrian ever got this close to me in the first place. The answer was simple. I kept believing he was the man he pretended to be, not the man he actually was. Now I trust myself more than I ever have. I've begun dating casually, not seriously, not urgently, just slowly dipping my toes back into a world I once believed was predictable. I'm more cautious now, not guarded, just aware. I'm learning that I'm stronger than I gave myself credit for. I'm learning that silence is not peace if it comes from suppressing your needs. I'm learning that sometimes the people you'd do anything for would do nothing for you. But the biggest lesson, love does not mean sacrificing your integrity. Love does not require you to commit crimes. Love does not demand your destruction. The final closure. Yesterday, I passed a Corvette on the highway, midnight blue, just like mine. For a moment, a sharp ache pierced my chest. I remembered the feel of the steering wheel beneath my hands, the sound of the engine, the pride of knowing I had earned every inch of that car. But then the ache softened, because as beautiful as that car was, losing it wasn't the greatest cost of this whole ordeal. The real loss was believing Adrian loved me the way I loved him. And the real victory was walking away before he dragged me down with him. In the end, the Corvette was just metal. I was the one worth saving. And I saved myself. So here is the truth spoken clearly, finally, without fear.